What's up, Virgo? Welcome into the channel. I hope you're doing well. So we are going to do a Celtic cross reading today. Virgo can be in any of your placements. It does not have to be just your sun, moon, rising, or Venus. You can simply have a house that occupies Virgo, or maybe you're just called to the title of this video. I trust that there'll be something in here for you. All right, what is going on? I'm also being called to not do the traditional tarot deck for you for the base. We're going to use the yin yang oracle. Okay? All right, what's going on for Virgo? What is going on for Virgo? Okay. Either you want an apology right now, or maybe you're thinking that you need to offer up an apology to somebody. Maybe open up from the heart a little bit right now. Ooh. Crossing is the devil, toxicity. Okay. The root, we've got basically it's the Four of Wands, the family card. Recent past, we have North Node. Crowning at the top, higher self, we've got Uranus, the Fool card. Immediate future, we have the Control card. How do you feel? The World. How do they feel around you? Got the summertime. Growth. Okay. Hopes and fears. We have the autumn card. Harvest time. Outcome. Self-care. Okay. So I'm gonna say you, but you flip it as it works for you. Only you will know, and there could simply be a cross watcher that is watching. So you place parties where it fits. But I'm just gonna say, it feels like you're sitting in a position where, maybe you are wanting an apology, I want to say. But what's crossing you and challenging you is, I think that it would create another negative pattern with whoever this person is to you that you would like to, have a truce with. It's almost like I feel like that it probably would not be the best idea, even though you're contemplating this, right? You're in the energy, and it would make sense. We are in Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer. So we are in our feels, and it is a possibility to go back to people and old conversations to revisit them, right? To maybe finish that conversation. So it would make sense that you're sitting in that energy. But with the devil card out crossing you, you know, not every situation, not every conversation needs to be revisited if it's going to take you back down another toxic pattern or another ride on the merry-go-round with this person. So I don't know if there's a trauma bond here, or if it's just, somebody isn't willing to change their ways. The whole root is, we've got the family card. So this is the Four of Wands in traditional tarot. And it is the foundation, and it is family. So this could very well be somebody in your family. It could be somebody you consider family. We have best friends that we, have are considered family. Sometimes it's coworkers because we do spend a lot of time with them. Um, it could be just maybe somebody that you're in a commitment with, or possibly, maybe you're married to this person and there's been um some distance, maybe some emotional distance, maybe there's been some separation. And so whatever it is, you consider it to be family to you. However, there's something toxic going on, okay? In the recent past, we have North Node. So the North Node is about getting uncomfortable. It is your karmic path you're supposed to be on in this lifetime. The South Node is your previous life. So your South Node, all those traits of whatever that would be. And maybe I'm talking to somebody who has um Virgo as your North Node, or Virgo as your South Node. That could be part of this reading as well. Doesn't mean it's everybody, but I just want to point that out. But the South Node is, we've already mastered that energy, right? So if you're a South Node Virgo, um, Virgo is very detail oriented. They are analytical. They're very hardworking. They're very intelligent. They're kind. They can be a form of a healer. They also have a tendency to be the perfectionist, and they can also be practical. So if that was your South Node, you've mastered all that. Now, in this lifetime, the North Node would be Pisces. So you would need to get uncomfortable getting into Pisces energy, being more empathetic, being more intuitive, right? Being, dreamy and romantic and compassionate, um, letting go of being the perfectionist, right? Going after a dream, and maybe it's, not perfect, that kind of thing, right? And, it almost feels like in the recent past, you were trying to find where you belong, where what is your path. You may have experienced karmic challenges, right? Which would make sense because you have the devil card crossing you, challenging you. Your higher self, you've got the Fool card. This is about freedom. It's also Uranus. Now, we have Uranus in Gemini. So we are all learning to think differently, speak differently. Gemini is, curious. They're the thinker. They like to ask questions. And so I think your higher self is telling you that it's time to break free from possibly wanting to talk to this person, to open up compassionately with this person. Maybe you guys have done this a couple of times and it hasn't worked. And here we are sitting in retrograde in a water sign that is very much about home, family, and nurturing and caring. um, security seeking. Maybe you felt there was some sort of security that was provided to you from this person, but your higher self is like, I really should take a new path. Um, I really should break free from this situation. And to me, that would make total sense, right? It's starting a new cycle. Now, in the immediate future, we have the control card. So, either the person, now I want to say you. I think because of your higher self is in the, telling you to get in the full energy, to break free from wanting to have that conversation again with this person, I think you're going to shut down your emotions. So maybe something happens. We'll dig in, we'll see. Your thoughts right now and your feelings on this situation is the world. So it's like karmic cycle completed, right? It's ready for a new cycle. She's got the butterfly over her mouth. And it's almost like maybe you would have said something before to this person, but you turn cold. You block your emotions off because your higher self, I feel like, is really, it's almost as if you're actually listening to your higher self. How about that? Even though you're sitting in these emotions where you're like, maybe I should talk to this person. Maybe we should have a truce. Maybe, I should apologize. Maybe, I should get them to apologize. And that's fine and dandy, but I think your higher self is actually getting to you. And I think you're actually listening to it because you're gonna shut down so you can have a new cycle and complete the karmic cycle by just not saying anything. Right? I think that's part of your transformation, is not being willing to have another conversation, or to not open up another conversation. And I think that's part of your transformation, is that. Now, however this is around you, um there's something with them remaining active during this time, especially during summertime, which we are currently in. We just got in. They're focusing on their goals. So I don't think that there would be any change, because if you're sitting in emotions and this person is focusing on goals, right? Being actively focusing on goals, I don't see that they would be willing to have that emotional connection conversation that you would have been hoping for. So that's probably why the devil's challenging you. And it's because you would have done this before, and it's probably been a cycle that just hasn't worked. And maybe it's constantly you being the one reaching out, trying to have a truce, trying to have a conversation, trying to get this back on track. And whoever this is around you completely goes right back into staying actively busy in their own goals. Well, who knows, they might be there for a minute. They're not there really long term because their mind is focused on other things. The hopes and fears, we've got the autumn card. That this is the another timing card. You know, it's like you hope that the past isn't over with this person. Um, but you also fear that maybe this person is starting over without you, right? Because they are so focused right now during the summertime. So it's kind of like maybe when autumn hits, because there is distance between you and this person, you're going to fear that maybe the past is over. And, that could very well be true. And you feel because there hasn't been any connection and they are so worried about what it is they're doing, their activities, their goals, their own growth, whatever they might be on their own growing path. I don't know. I haven't clarified. But, it's kind of like you're like, I hope the past isn't over. And you fear that they're starting over possibly without you. So, the outcome is, the self-care card, right? So it's needing to cleanse yourself of this situation. So when we have toxic bonds chained by the devil, these connections are very hard to break away from. I'll be the first to tell you. I mean, in my early 20s, I got, synced up with somebody that I was head over heels for, not seeing all of these red flags because the connection was really strong. And karmic partners are, whether they're there to teach you a subtle, soft lesson or one that's really hard, that's going to drag you through the mud, kicking, screaming, crying, miserable, depression, they're really hard to get away from. It took me just a little over 10 years to get out of that. And I wasn't finished. I met up with a few others that, lasted, some people, it takes a little longer. I get it. So I was one of them. But now I'm at a point where I would hope, because I am in my early 50s. But some of us, hey, don't actually learn anything until their 60s or 70s. And heck, some never learn at all. So I guess, I can't, down myself too much, but they're hard to get out of. And so it's going to take you some time. If you don't learn to start cleansing this person out of your system, you're going to notice that your energy is low, right? You're going to, I think you're going to find yourself actually wanting to have time alone, right? Focusing in on you because, this person has been a lot of work, right? For the both of you. I don't even know any details about this person, but yeah. So let's go here. So let's dig in a little more. And like I said, this doesn't surprise me because this type of scenario might pop up for a lot of people simply because we are in the retrograde. And it is about revisiting, old emotions, old conversations that were left hanging, misunderstandings. And it can be with family, friends, partners, loved ones, you name it. So it doesn't surprise me. So let's get a little bit more on this apology, please. Can you tell me more about this? Yeah, so you might just want to, you know, have that emotional conversation, speak from the heart. But you also, I think, know that this is going to be a challenge. But we'll see what comes out. I could be completely wrong. Help me here, please, Spirit. What is this apology for Virgo? Yeah, Six of Swords. Eight of Cups. Yeah, so it's very much of, you know, wanting to get out of the mental anxiety that's, you know, there's probably been some uncomfortable conversations that's kind of gotten you up in your head, you know, and even though either you walked away or they walked away, or maybe the both of you did, it's like, can we, you know, what you, uh, what you're currently feeling is you want to be able to clear your mind, right? Because you're still hung up on this person. Makes total sense, especially if it's a karmic partner. They're very hard to, like I said, get away from. But it's like you want to get away from what had happened about the emotional distance, right? So it's like you kind of wanted to talk about it and get past it, but this might just be somebody that there was supposed to be a lesson learned and not necessarily go back. And again, you know, maybe you've tried this a couple of times and maybe you're just at a point where you were like, maybe, but it does look like I hope your higher self talks you out of that. So what is this toxicity about? Okay, so we had a flyer. Basically, it's the Three of Swords in reverse. The Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Six of Cups. You know, there's a history here, okay? A past, obviously, between you two, where nothing moved forward. It was never, there was never a time to be able to connect and heal. There may have been third parties always involved. Now, that doesn't always mean it's romantic. Yes, can be. You might already know that, but it could just be friends constantly getting involved. Could be work getting involved because, like I said, this person's constantly right now, and especially right now, focusing on their own activities, their goals, um, keeping busy. And that might be it too, is that they have a history of not really moving towards any type of healing, and, you know, not removing anything energetically that is the third party getting in the way of you and their connection. And it just never changed. So you may have done this a few times and now it's, while you don't like it, I think you're opening up your eyes to it, so to speak. So Let's jump a little further here. Tell me about the North Node. The Four of Cups. Two of Cups. Six of Pentacles. So in the past, you know, like I said, with the North Node, that can be very much karmic challenges. You know, can be a struggle getting into your North Node energy. In the past, with this particular person, there was never an equal balance when it came to how you felt about each other in this connection. You didn't feel the same, right? And maybe it even switched off at times where, you know, maybe at one point you didn't care a whole lot about it. And then you got back together and tried again, and then they didn't care. You know, I'm not going to say it's just one or the other, but it's almost as if stubbornly, you know, not giving fairly, equally when it came to the connection of you both. It was just, it was never equal. It was never on equal terms. You know, maybe you were always, you know, to be. So here's another thing, and I thank you, Spirit, they just told me this. So you could have been the one that was always giving the attention, the healing, the nurturing, right? And they could have always been providing the financials, right? But it's kind of like you both would need to come together, right? Both coming together with equal emotions, both coming to the table equally, being able to take care of yourselves. So when you came together, that's much like building an empire, right? So it was like one was always doing more, making up for the other. And so it wasn't quite even Steven. There are people that do make these types of relationships work where one is providing, you know, the financials, and the other one's, you know, giving the love and the attention, you know, the physical contact, right? They do work, but that's when two people can talk about that type of connection and know they're going into it where one's gonna take care of the other one financially, and the other one's gonna, you know, rub the other person's feet or back, or give them, you know, sweet lovin's, whatever that may be. But they talk about it and they come together on those terms. And I'm not sure you guys did, right? I think one just naturally provided financially, the other provided the love, the attention, the support, the healing energy, and that's just what it was. And it's probably become toxic because, you know, you're now realizing maybe you want their love and support and connection, and they're not there giving it. So let's just jump on ahead here. Tell me about the World. This is where I feel you're realizing that this karmic cycle is closed out, and I think you're ready for a new cycle. Now, I don't know if that necessarily means another new cycle with this person. That could come out and surprise us as well. Okay, Seven of Cups. Ten of Pentacles. The Knight of Cups. Yeah. You know, I think you're realizing that your heart is more open to other options that are out there, other people, right? There's other people that can provide the long-term stability in a connection. I think also along with actively showing openness, love, romance. It's like you want it to be long term, you want it to be stable. You want there to be long term financial vision, but you also are actively wanting the romance along with it. So that may have been what you thought in your mind was going to happen with this person, and it just never happened. But you know that there's other options out there available to you that will give you the long term and the romance, and you're realizing this because I think this person, maybe you just never had that conversation with them, and then you just had assumed it would go that route to where they would be very romantic and loving and emotional and maybe a little ooey gooey, and they just weren't. They provided financials and they thought, you know, that's what I'm doing. Tell me about this autumn card though, because I'm curious about, I think you're worried about the past being over with this person and them starting over, or maybe it's the fact of you're also worried about yourself starting over. What's this autumn? Queen of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles. Oh, okay. Nine of Cups. It's funny because this person that you were connected with, I told you they're very goal oriented. They're very much, staying active, focusing on working. And I felt that they provided you the financials. I think you're worried that their wish fulfillment will come in for them. And it will be a Queen of Pentacles, somebody that matches them, who's all about giving their energy, their time, their resources, but is also somebody who's financially stable as well. And you know how do I say this? It is hard to let go of somebody that you really had your heart, your mind set on. But if they're not really your person, because you already know there's plenty of options, cups of love that will give you everything that you want, you're still a little saddened that at some point they're going to have their wish fulfillment come in for them. And it's like, when that happens, it's sad for you to let go of that past because, you know, we can want certain people all we want. But if they don't want us back, or they're not willing to match us on the terms we want, we have to let it go. And you need to be happy for them because their wish fulfillment is going to come in at some point just like yours is. And that's why the devil's here. It's challenging because it's it's like having, and this is just going to be the easiest way to say this. It's like having diabetes and knowing you should not be eating sweets and sugar, but you can't let go of remembering what the taste was like. Even though you know if you eat it, it could spike your sugar and not be good for you. That's kind of the best way for me to explain that, right? You're never going to, it's like an addiction, right? You may have been very addicted to this person, and maybe part of the addiction was trying to get them to give you the romance you wanted. Like, you knew they could provide, you knew they made money, you knew they could pay the mortgage, the rent, the car, they could take you out to dinner. You wanted to get into that heart, and that just wasn't going to happen with this person. And it may have created a bit of a challenge for you. And you may have had trouble just letting go of the image of what you thought this person should be like in your life, and it just wasn't. So let's see about this self-care in the future for you. Yeah, I think you're going to need to cleanse, your palette of clearing out this person, spending some time alone, because there's going to be other options available to you, but you don't want to jump in when your energy is still very much connected to this person. Ugh, the Tower. I think I know where this one's headed. King of Swords. The Page of Swords. Yeah. I think I would be careful. You might still be peeking in on this person, maybe watching them. Um, you know, your mind, I think, is going to get clear and realize that this person may have started to move on, and it's going to create a tower for you. So it's going to be a sudden, oh my gosh, your mind's clear, right? It's not this confusion of, well, is that passed over? Is there a chance? I think, by you watching and waiting and casually peeking in, I don't know if it's social media, I don't know if you're driving by their job, or maybe, a local gym or bar they go to, or their favorite restaurant. I don't know. Maybe you know what grocery store they shop at. But however you're seeing them, peeking on them, running into them, it's going to cause a tower moment for you. It's like it's going to make you uncomfortable, because you may see that they are in fact moving on. So I might want to go back to that summer card just out of curiosity, real quick, and see if there's anything that's going to come out other than them working on their goals. Because, well, goals can be, finding new partners too, or whatever. What's going on? Okay, so we've got The Knight of Wands in reverse. The Fool. They have the Fool as well. So your higher self has the Fool. They have the Fool with the Knight of Wands in reverse. The Knight of Swords. This feels like they've kind of shut their passions down towards maybe new opportunities right now. It's like they're taking a new journey of learning to turn the passion off. And it's like, you know, they might be talking to people, getting to know people. Maybe they're starting to talk to people a little sooner than you would expect, but their passion is turned off. And so it's not about them hooking up with other people. It's just about them taking a new journey, taking a leap of faith of just starting to open up and talk to people. And I think that's what you're probably going to see. And it might jolt you to where you need to give yourself some self-care, because again, you're still afraid of them moving on. And I think just by seeing them communicating with other people, even though the passion's not there with anybody, it's still going to hurt you. And then you're going to have to get logical about, okay, I got to cleanse this person. I've got to let it go. You already know you're ready for a new cycle yourself. It will not be with this person, but there are other options that are available to you that are going to give you both. Okay. So I would just say be mindful of, if you are triggered easily, I would avoid going places they go. I would avoid peeking in on their social media if it happens to be open. Even they could change profile pictures, whatever that may be. I would just do anything I could to maybe avoid that if it triggers you, because it's gonna take a shock to your system, and this is where the real healing begins, because you're realizing this needs to end. And it's very hard. I get it. I get it. Let's pull an emotional card for you. Let's see what else do we have here for Virgo. Oh, sadness. Yeah, that's why I said you're going to need to take care of yourself. Sadness is an inner healing process that helps you process loss and pain. When you feel sadness, give yourself time and space. Self-care. Cleansing, recharging, Give yourself time and space, as it is the source of strength to start anew. So in order for you to start new, you're going to need to sit in the sadness a little bit. You know what I mean? It's cleansing your palate before you can move on to other options. So this, I know, is not going to be a popular read, and it may not be for everybody, but there is somebody out there that needed to hear this. Because like I said, we are in the retrograde of Cancer, and that is taking us back to our emotions, even if it's somebody that we have a connection with that isn't quite what we want, you know, it was not really giving back. I know, it's it's taking you back to look at it for a reason, to have that one final good hard cry, or, you know, taking a weekend, being with the guys or the girls or whatever, and just chilling, watching movies, eating snacks, just giving yourself nurturing, right? Go to the spa, get a massage, whatever it is that makes you feel good, you would need to go do, right? It's all about you, because when the tower comes in from watching, it's going to be a little bit of sadness that comes in pretty quickly. So I'm sorry this was not popular. I hope it helped. I hope it gave you some insight that you needed to help you with this situation, because I'm going to tell you, I know from firsthand, toxic situations are the hardest to get away from. You're not the only one. Every single one of us goes through it. So I love you guys. I hope this was helpful. And until the next one, I will talk to you soon.